Hey Nadia,
Hello.
I'm loving your headphones and hoodie look. You're looking kind of hip hop.
It's cold here. It's really, really cold.
I know, we're sure in the video we're going to be showing the difference between California and Massachusetts. It's pretty warm here right now. Not hot, but warm.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
temperature over there?
It is okay, well, it's 52 degrees, but it's like windy out. And yesterday was like I had a class at 9:15 and it was 30 degrees. It was winter. So I had
I
to
I just looked at a map this morning that talked about how it's going to be an El Nino winter, and it showed where there's going to be more snow than usual and less snow than usual.
uh
And in Tahoe, where I go for snow, there's
mhm.
going to be more snow than usual, and in Boston, there's going to be less snow than usual.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't mean it's not going to be cold.
Well, it's gonna be cold, but like the snow makes it worse sometimes. And I'm slipping and sliding everywhere, and it's just really annoying.
All right. So I love how we're kind of like pushing into this next episode. I'm excited to ask my questions, but I know that you're not that excited about it. So I just turned on record and made us start going. But let's start with a soft entry. How's gymnastics going? You didn't do gymnastics for basically 18 months. So you did it your whole life and then took a break.
Mhm.
Um, Actually want to hear about that a little bit. Like, what made you decide to, after 18 months, start gymnastics again? And like, did you ever during that 18 months think that you were going to go back to gymnastics?
No. Well, I missed gymnastics a lot during those 18 months, but I've been doing it my whole life, so I really needed that break. And I really enjoyed having that break. It was like it made me realize just how much anxiety, like just how it really like how gymnastics affected me mentally and emotionally. I mean, and physically, obviously, but it was good to have that break. And then, as you know, like over the summer before this semester, I was really, really against like joining the club gymnastics team, not because like I thought it was gonna be bad, but just because I don't know, I really didn't want to like do gymnastics like that ever again. Um, but then, as I said, I think I said in another episode that I just like ended up going to the interest meeting for the gymnastics club, and everyone was super nice, and it was super low commitment in comparison to my other like my previous gymnastics experience. So I that really um, incentivized me to just go to the tryouts. And it's like really funny when I talk to like my teammates about it because they're like, "Oh, did you like train over the summer for this, or did you do anything?" I was like, "No, I literally didn't know gymnastics. I did gymnastics once, and I barely did anything, and I just showed up to these tryouts. It wasn't like what you would normally expect a tryout to be like, but obviously I was there doing my skills, and I just kind of went for it, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know. It was, and then I got on the team. I got on the competitive team, and then and also like after the tryouts, it was like, although I was so against joining before, like now, like if I didn't get on the team, I knew I was gonna be upset. So like in my head, I was like, I really need to like get on. But then, and then I did, and then it kind of hit me like I'm like back in it again. Like I'm gonna have to compete next semester, and like for the next 4 years. Um, but it's a lot of fun, and I feel like I tell like all my like teammates like I feel like it's healing my like gymnastics trauma from before, just because like this is literally all on my terms. Like I am doing whatever I want, which is a lot of fun. So
So, in case your old coaches are listening to this episode. Maybe we need to clarify, like, what you mean by
Clarify.
old traumas so that, they don't feel like they've been thrown under the bus.
No, I mean, like, just like, I don't know. A lot of the times, like, throughout the years in like middle school, high school, I like nothing to do with like, it didn't always have to do with like coaches or like anything that I did at practice in general, but like the anxiety before entering the gym was a lot. And like that was all I was thinking about was competitions or what I was going to be doing next practice or like what went wrong in a different practice. And it's like, it's tiring mentally. Um, and also like to be a competitive JO gymnast, there's like disciplines that go with that. And you can't like, it's not always going to be a lot like all fun and games because you just like, you have to prepare for these competitions. Whereas like for the club gymnastics, you still have to prepare, but there's lower stakes, and I don't know. There's like just a different feel to it, and it's fun to like, kind of be my own coach, but then also like go back to what I was so comfortable with before. I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but
We're gonna have to interview again after, like, right before your first competition or after your first
oh yeah.
competition and see how you feel. But it sounds to me like a lot of the, what you're talking about as trauma when you were younger in gymnastics was some of the feeling that you put on yourself. Like it
Right.
was your environment and the situation and the intensity of the coaching and the intensity of just the sport, the vibe of the sport in general.
Hmm.
But it was like also how you interpreted the situation and the
Yeah.
like things that were going on in your head. So how are
Yeah.
you dealing with that now? Is it just a change of environment and vibe that makes the stories in your head change, or are you consciously like changing the stories? Like why isn't it as like anxiety
I
provoking when you go into practice now?
probably both. I don't know. I'm like, I get to choose, like, it's only 2 days a week, 2 hours per practice. That's 4 hours a week in comparison to like the like 20 hours a week I did before. And I get to choose when I get to go. I don't know. There's this like new idea of like, I get to choose. I have a choice. It's not, I mean, I did have a choice before, but I was always in my head about missing practice and like I don't know, doing you want to be perfect for your coaches too. So, but this time I'm just do like I'm doing well for me. I don't know. It's like I think it's mostly me just talking about
Does
it
your
out
coach
loud. Like
you have a coach now? Does he not care how well you do?
no, he does, but like it's a different dynamic. That's another thing. The dynamic is a lot different. Like the coach is there obviously to coach and to like be there to help us out, but like he's not coaching the same way that like a JO coach is coaching you. Like he's on the in the background basically.
Like a
Obviously
consultant.
watching like a consultant, yeah. And the president of the club, like in the whole like e-board of the club are girls on the team. And those are technically the people who are also consulting. So it's like you get to be like friends with, like it's a whole different dynamic, which is super
Yeah, there's like an
interesting.
age dynamic too, right? Like when
Yeah.
you were doing gymnastics, you keep saying JO, which for the listeners out there, that means Junior Olympic. And that
Yeah.
was the way that it used to be called when Nadia was in gymnastics, the people that are like progressing through the kind of more competitive levels in gymnastics. It's now called
Developmental.
developmental. Um, so anyway, um, so when you started what you called
Hmm.
JO, you were little, like 9 years old, your
Hmm.
first competition season,
Right.
and you started gymnastics when you were like zero basically,
Hmm.
and then your first competitive season was when you were 9 years old. Then your coach is like, you know in his or her 30s or older, and there's a
Right.
definite like feeling there of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're older than me, you're like, I'm supposed to respect you because you're my coach and because you're older than me, and
Right.
you're me. Yeah. And
Yeah, it was
now,
like a power thing. And then growing up with the same coaches, although like I'm getting older, like the power dynamic is still there from when I was little. And like now there's a power dynamic, but it's almost, I don't know. There's like, I don't know. It's different being like
yeah, I think also
bossed
four
around by
hours makes a big
adults.
difference. When you're
Mhm.
little and you're 20 hours of your week is gymnastics, that makes
Right.
up like your entire identity. And now you're
Exactly.
an adult with like lots of things going on, lots
Mhm.
of things like, that you would associate with
Right.
as shaping your identity,
Right.
defining your identity. You are only doing it for 4 hours. So it's not like
Mhm.
you're everything. Whereas before it
Right.
was basically your everything. So that's
Right.
kind of nerve
Yeah.
wracking too.
And there's like a team dynamic too. I know, like when you're growing up, like there's a lot of competitiveness between you and your teammates, and you obviously you want to win. And I mean, gymnastics never really came easily for me, so I was never really like the best on the team. When I like, there's a very competitive nature of being on a gymnastics team, and in a different way than it is in other sports. And here in the club team, I feel like I can, um, like, there's less of that. Like, everyone just wants to have fun and, to do well. So we're going to, like, all support each other, which I guess also is an age thing since, we're all in college. But
Right. And I thought also before you are competing for lots of different reasons, but I guess one of them is like your thoughts are you're trying to get to this certain level, like level
right,
10 or
right.
elite by a certain age so that you can go to college gymnastics. And now where
Mhm.
you're at, it's not like you're doing the gymnastics to get to something else. You're already
Right,
there.
right. And also the level that we're competing at, well, the thing is I need to work up to my skills, but the level we're competing at is lower than the level that I ended up at.
Hmm.
However, I still don't have those skills, so it's whole, I think it's also kind of a fun game for me to be like, wow, all these things that I thought were easy before are actually very difficult. And I like, it's fun to be challenged in that way.
Yeah. So I guess in case anybody's wondering, you think about college gymnastics as, and most people think of NCAA gymnastics, like the
Right.
UCLA gymnasts or the, I don't know who else, what the normal person that doesn't think
Michigan.
much about gymnastics thinks about, but maybe probably
Mhm.
UCLA gymnastics is what they think
Yeah.
about when they see it. So that's NCAA. And then Nadia is not doing NCAA Division One, Two, or Three. She's doing college club gymnastics, which they still compete
I
against.
think it's like NAIGC or something like that.
Right, NAIGC.
Hmm.
So it's a club team, and so I don't know how many people are familiar that with club sports in gym in college, but I remember from college there being intramurals, which is like basically you're competing against other people
Right.
at your school. But club sports is somewhere in between, in
You're right.
that you're competing against other schools representing your school, but it's not
Hmm.
NCAA
Right.
Division One, Two, or Three.
Right. And like another thing is like it's not like necessarily funded that much by the school. You get like kind of a little bit. I'm actually not really sure how it works, but we had to do like a lot of fundraising for things like nationals because like we don't get that money from the school like an actual like recognized team would, D1 team.
Right.
I actually don't know
Your
what
school's not paying
Northeastern
for
is, but
your uniform or
right,
providing
right.
you gyms. Well, I guess maybe they do provide you gym space.
Well,
They're,
it's the coach's gym,
mhm.
so I don't know how that works, but we get to use like a Northeastern van to go to the gym, so I don't know.
Yeah. So, okay. But this is like a long intro to the main reason why we got on this phone call, which was the topic that I wanted to bring up, which is leaking in sports. And this is like, you don't want to like, I don't know, expose yourself. But I just want to say out there that like before this podcast became Nadia and I, it was
Mhm.
my really good friend who's a physical therapist, Tanya, and I. Tanya is a pelvic floor specialist. So she's a kind of physical therapist that works with people that have problems that they want to address in their pelvic area. It could be a lot of different things that we've talked about in the past, but one of which is leaking. And
Mhm.
sometimes people leak because they have what's called like an urgency incontinence, and they like, you guys might be familiar with this, but someone who needs to run to the bathroom because they like all of a sudden have to pee really badly. And then they might leak a little bit on the way to the bathroom or like as they're unlocking the door or unzipping their pants. So that's like an urgency incontinence. There's also a stress incontinence, stress urinary incontinence, which is basically when the pressure of like the pressure around your bladder takes is too much for the muscles to control the urine from leaking out, and so you
Mhm.
leak when you, for example, run and jump. And some, I mean, I bet a bunch of women out there can kind of relate to this, but in general terms, you've heard people say, "Oh my god, I laughed so hard, I almost peed my pants," or like, "Oh my gosh, I peed a little bit when I sneezed," or
Uh-huh.
um, I can't jump on the trampoline because I feel like I'm going to like leak my pants
Mhm.
when I jump on the trampoline. These are common things that are like I want to say previously embarrassing to talk about, but I guess it probably still is embarrassing to talk about. And so I wanted to talk about like what the culture is around leaking in gymnastics. Um, and maybe you have not much to say, but like how much in your experience with
Mhm.
your old teammates and then your current teammates, how much are people talking about leaking?
I think as you got older, I feel like when I was younger and it happened, like it's was it's like recognized as like that's only a you thing. Like nobody, this is not happening to anyone. But as you got older, and I feel like as I grew up with my teammates from home, like we talked about it more, and like I don't know, it became a really normalized thing, not necessarily to talk about, but just like a known thing, and almost to the point where like my coach would just laugh at like us if we ran to the bathroom after being on floor. Like it was just like, which I feel like made it normalized, and it made it like less of like a weird thing that's happening. Um, but definitely, I think even in, I mean, like now too, I think it just has to do with age and just like knowing what's happening with your body and being more comfortable with your body. Um, the conversation's there, but nobody really does anything about it. Like that's like we can talk about it, but we don't know why it's happening or how to fix it. And we're just gonna like let it happen and like laugh about it. Like, oh, I'm not gonna do this because I know I feel like I know I'm gonna like pee my pants. Like, hey, not like that, but like oh, I know after I do this, like I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom, or I should probably go to the bathroom before floor because like I don't want to have to I don't want to like pee my pants during my floor routine, like stuff like that. Like we can talk, I could talk about that with my teammates, my teammates could talk about that with me, but we're not like necessarily gonna find any solutions for it. We just like let it happen.
It is so interesting because I think like I'm straddling here between being like mom talking to daughter and then like someone that like you know healthcare practitioner that kind of deals with this sometimes with
Uh-huh.
other athletes. But I guess I'm going into the healthcare practitioner mode. It is pretty common. There are studies that show that there have been whole teams, whole elite teams that have been polled to see how many of them have incontinence, and the answer was 100%.
Yeah.
But the ranges like of the different studies of like how much people are having urinary incontinence during gymnastics is somewhere between 30 and 80%.
Hmm.
So it's a wide range, but you can guess like somewhere in between there.
Right.
And this is important because, first of all, you can imagine if someone's leaking all the time and it's like embarrassing or whatever, they might not do gymnastics anymore if they feel like they're leaking too much,
Yeah.
or they might feel like they'll hold back on skills. So it's important that way. It's also important because your pelvic floor muscles, the ones that help you prevent leaking, are part of your core. So like it's important to work on those muscles for like performance also, like ability to like have a strong core. And that doesn't mean just like contracting and strengthening by contracting, but also relaxing. And then it's also important because there are like it should be talked about because there are things that can be done about it. If you're still leaking, like the stories that I've heard from gymnasts when they do leak all the time, but they want to do gymnastics still, is they'll do things that like use period underwear when they're doing gymnastics so that it doesn't like leak through to their leotard.
Yeah.
They'll use pads. They'll actually, this is kind of interesting. They'll use a tampon. So that doesn't really make sense to you, right? It's like scrunch your eyebrows. Like, how does a tampon help with
Like,
peeing? Isn't that a different hole?
Does it make it like feel like you're like, is it like a mental thing? Like you feel more like control of your muscles because
it's not a mental thing. It's not a mental
like a
thing.
physical thing, but
it's a physical thing. Like it's like pushing against the muscles. Like it's helping support the area by kind of helping create fill up space so that the muscles don't have to work so hard because they're getting like kind of supported.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think I personally would use panty liners. I don't like wearing pads when I'm doing gymnastics. I don't like wearing pads in general because they're just really uncomfortable. But especially in gymnastics, it's like the worst. Imagine like doing gymnastics in a diaper. Anyways, but I also think that because of like leaking incontinence, but also because of periods, like I feel like it kind of like goes hand in hand a little bit, is when like girls start wearing shorts, spandex to practice and all that kind of thing. So,
right, so it'll show less. Like if you're wearing black shorts, for example, then you won't be able to see the leaking if it happens for both period
and you feel less exposed in general. But
right, I guess we can talk about hair removal in a future episode. Anyway, I do want to bring in someone who is actually not your mom, but someone who is a pelvic floor specialist that works with a lot of athletes. So we should do that in the future.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever like fully leaked you or someone you know, like so that they have to wear a new leotard? Like you're in competition and you have like this wet spot in your leotard.
It's actually like, well, for me, I wear underwear. That's
but still, thing. I mean, like, what if they leak so much that it's like dripping?
It's never, well, okay. In personal experience during a competition, it hasn't happened like that. Like, you will leak during a competition, but you go, like, I personally would go to the bathroom before things, you know, before I go to floor. Just like, it's a just in case type thing. But, like, during practice, like, if you really have to go pee and then something like if you're doing floor and you also really have to go to the bathroom, sometimes it's bad and you just have to run to the bathroom. But I've never had to like change my leotard. It's just kind of something that you're gonna have to deal with. And also it's not necessarily easy to be seen. It depends on the leotard you're wearing.
Right. I mean, I feel bad for the people who have like, I don't know, light colored leotards,
it's not like light colored. It's like if it's one color. If there's a pattern on it, it's less noticeable. And if like you have like, which is like with younger girls, they're not usually wearing the ones with, I mean, when I was younger, we're not usually wearing the ones with patterns. It's like the ones with that are just plain color, which I guess maybe not. That's not everyone. But for me personally, I wore the one color ones when I was younger, which makes it like way more noticeable.
When you have a dark spot in the middle.
Yeah. And like I don't know. I guess
Okay.
it's an embarrassing thing for them.
So, oh, as you were talking, I was like, I had a question. Have you ever been in a competition, like competing on floor or on beam?
Mm-hmm.
Because those routines are longer.
Mm-hmm.
Where you thought in the middle of your routine as you're performing, oh my gosh, I have to go to the bathroom? Has it ever like,
No. I
mm,
mean, if I'm gonna be honest, like I kind of black out during those routines because I'm so nervous. But I think that things like sneezing, having to cough, like having a runny nose, like all those things, like honestly, I don't know what happens, but it just stops. Like I can't, like I don't think about anything unless something hurts, then I can think about that. But like I never had to like you're not gonna stop your routine to sneeze. That's like a fear. But like I've never had to do that because you're not thinking about that. And um I don't know. I've never like I mean not that I really had to go pee, but like oh like I just like I don't know. It like you're not thinking about those things. I mean I'm not. I'm so focused on like what I'm doing there, which I guess you have to be.
mm-hmm.
That like I'm not thinking like, oh my goodness, I really, really have to go pee right now. I might have to run to the bathroom after, so I realize after I salute, but like not like during, which
That's
I
so
guess
interesting. Actually, don't
is
know. I should know probably, but I don't know the
good.
physiology behind why does nobody sneeze in the middle of their performance?
I
Like,
honestly am just like so focused on what I'm doing and like I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting.
yeah, that's interesting.
Um but yeah, never had to go pee during a routine.
You might not be you. I mean, this is just your experience. I'm thinking
Hmm.
that if you asked other people,
They
maybe
might.
who aren't as nervous as you or as focused as you or have more of an issue with
Yeah.
incontinence, it might run through their mind right before
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
tumble or something like that.
Yeah. Not me.
Uh,
Too
yeah.
nervous.
Well, I just want to say while we're publicly speaking, I asked you when you got on the team to send me your competition schedule so I could
I
watch.
don't have. Oh, wait. I kind of
Oh gosh, I have frat flu from you. Anyway,
do.
I asked you for your competition schedule so I could watch, and you're like, you're not coming to watch. But
I mean,
while
you
we're
can't.
here, when people are listening, can I
No.
come watch?
Well, yes, you can watch, but it's going to be here.
Okay, maybe
I
I'll
mean,
come
you
to
might be
your.
here.
Hmm?
You might be here during one. I have no clue. I haven't.
Well, maybe I can go to your nationals.
Albuquerque.
Yeah, I've never been to New Mexico. I want to go
Me
to New
neither.
Mexico. Um, all right. Well, nice talking to you, Nadia. Thanks for sharing your story. I know that you were like bracing yourself for what kind of things you're going to expose about yourself, but was that okay?
Yeah, it was fine. It's
All right.
okay. I'm open.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye bye.